Hey everyone, it's your girl Layla. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another story time. It's been a while since I've done a story time, and I do have a few ideas for story times on my phone, like just in my notepad app, but I haven't gotten around to filming them. And I feel like this story time, the 3 or 4 times that I've told this story to other people, they've been shocked. And I really just wanted to do the story time now while it's fresh. And this happened to me when I was on vacation. I still have vlog footage galore to upload from that vacation, but the first part, y'all, it was not it, sis. Like, it just, no, it was bad. So if you guys are not already subscribed, please go ahead, click the subscribe button below. I upload 3 times a week, Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you guys need to grab some water, some tea, some juice, some snacks, please do so right now. Pause this video and get something to eat, because I feel like this is going to be a long story. I cope with things like traumatic events that happen to me by doing YouTube story times and just talking to the camera. I know that I'm in my room talking to myself right now and I'm retelling the story, but I don't know. I feel like if I need to get something off of my chest, if something bad happens to me, I just need to do a story time and just you know, talk about it, and that helps me process my emotions and my feelings. And I don't have a therapist or anything, so you guys are my therapy. Let's go ahead and get started on the story time. So like I said, this happened to me on vacation legit like 2 weeks ago, and I feel like vacations for me, like, weird stuff always happens to me. So the one time that I almost got kidnapped, that was on vacation. And yeah, just like stuff happens to me when I leave my house and I'm not in the mountains hiking. This one takes the cake of the craziest thing that's happened to me this year. I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit of a backstory. It's not gonna take that long. I also want to rename the 2 main characters in the story time because I don't want you guys to know who I'm talking about. So my auntie in this video, I'm gonna call her Laura, and then my uncle in this video, I'm gonna be calling Mitchell. And the reason why I air quoted those 2 things is because they're not actually related to me. They're not my real uncle and aunt. However, I call them that because I've known them my whole entire life. And in Filipino culture, you call your elders, you know, like tita, tito, ate, kuya. You call them that out of respect. So I've known these 2 my whole entire life. Laura is Filipino and Mitchell is Caucasian. So when I was growing up, Auntie Laura always babysat me. She picked me up from school. She took me to soccer practice when my mom was working. She was working at a restaurant back then, so she would work evenings, and Laura would just, you know, be there, take care of me and stuff like that. Even when we moved to Alberta and our whole entire house was packed up, we stayed at Laura and Mitchell's house for a couple days before we moved out here. And Mitchell was actually the one that drove the U-Haul for us when we moved to Alberta. So they are from my hometown originally. We're from the same hometown. I was actually their flower girl at their wedding. My family were the only guests at their wedding. I'm just trying to give you guys a backstory to tell you guys how close I was with Laura and Mitchell when I was growing up. We were just really close family friends, so you guys get the gist. I called them auntie and uncle. Fast forward, like I mentioned, we moved out to Alberta, and then they moved out to the boonies. They moved out to the Kootenays and started a bed and breakfast. They moved out of my hometown probably like 10 or more years ago. I don't even know the exact amount of time, but I hadn't seen them from 2001 until 2018, and then 2018 came along, and my aunt that I always stay with in my hometown suggested that I go ahead and visit my auntie Laura because it's been so long. And they were still really close because my hometown to where they lived was approximately like 2.5 to 3 hours, so it wasn't that far of a distance to where they would still see each other from time to time. So my aunt suggested, you should go visit your Auntie Laura. It's been so long. And back in 2018, I stayed with them for like a day. My friend and her mom came with me and we went to the hot springs. They are surrounded by natural hot springs and just like man-built hot springs. Like they are surrounded by a ton of beautiful places. So we stayed with them for one night. I actually wasn't even gonna stay with them. I was just gonna bring them food and then have dinner at their house and then leave. But then we realized that the drive was so long that we ended up staying there overnight. And that experience was great. Like I said, I hadn't seen them in like 17 years prior to that, and they were exactly the same people as I remember them from when I was a kid. They were super nice. They still have my photo on their wall and they still have my photo on their refrigerator. Fast forward to this year, the only time I went to BC through COVID was to visit Andy's mom and to visit my aunt, my actual aunt, like the one that's like part of my family. So those are the only two people that I really saw throughout COVID and like traveling back there. So this year and last year, my mom was calling Auntie Laura. Like ever since I went back there in 2018, they were calling each other, you know, like a couple times a month to catch up and stuff like that. So of course they were still pretty close even though they live so far away, and my mom hasn't been back to BC since like 2012. They haven't seen each other for so long, but they caught up over the phone. And my mom was like, oh, you should go visit Auntie Laura this time around. And I thought that that was a great idea because there was forest fires all over my hometown and I almost didn't even go to BC at all. So where my Auntie Laura lives, it was pretty much clear of forest fires or anything like that. And leading up to it, my mom was just super excited. She's like, you're gonna visit Auntie Laura. I want to buy her stuff. I want to buy her, you know, some Filipino comfort food because they're not around any cities. Like the closest city to them is an hour away. And that city isn't really a city, it's a town. Like it's a small town. So you're not gonna find any like Filipino comfort foods. You're not gonna find noodles. You're not gonna find pandesal. You're not gonna find any of that in that small town. Like the most ethnic thing that they have is they have an Indian restaurant. So my mom got really excited, bought her some like Filipino comfort food. And then 2 days before my trip, my mom was like, do you wanna take me to this little market? And I wanna find some locally made stuff to get her that she can't find where she lives. And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So in my family, as like a thank you, if I'm staying with you, you host me or whatever, I pay back by giving, you know, like a gift or something. That's pretty normal in my culture. Whenever I stay with my auntie in my hometown, I like buy her clothes or like some other like thank you type thing. She wanted to get her some special gifts because she hadn't seen her in a long time. Stuff that she thought was gonna be a hit and that Laura was gonna like. And I know that she was talking to my Auntie Laura specifically about getting her a rosary that was blessed because they are Catholic, my mom and her. I think Auntie Laura actually requested that my mom get her like a blessed rosary. So my mom was like, yeah, no problem. She picked out a rosary, got it blessed, and that was gonna be part of her gift. And don't think that my mom got her like this gift basket full of stuff because it really wasn't like that. It was just some small stuff, some Filipino comfort food, a rosary, some local honey, bathrobe, a mug, a shirt for my uncle Mitchell, and then I got my Auntie Laura this little lotion set. You know, it's just small little stuff, some self-care items. So I end up going hiking the day before I leave. I went on a 20K hike with my friends because I knew that I wouldn't see them for a while. So we went on a 20K hike and Andy really wanted to leave at 3 a.m. and I was just so tired. I had gotten no sleep and he's like, it's fine, you can sleep in the truck. And I'm like, but that's not the same thing, you know? Like I was really tired, but he insisted that we leave early so we take the long way to BC, avoid the fires, avoid, you know, having to take 2 ferries and stuff. So we went south and then west. So when I got just past the BC border, it was like 9 o'clock in the morning around there. And so my mom calls me and she's like, I got this weird message from Auntie Laura and I don't know if you can stay there. And I was just like, what? Like we just drove from 3 o'clock in the morning on no sleep. We just got to the BC border and you're telling me that I can't stay there. My mom was talking to her for months and just being really excited about my trip. So my mom is like, yeah, I got this really weird message from her, but I will call her right now and then I'll call you back. Actually, I think this was around like 8 o'clock in the morning or something like that. It was pretty early, but we had already crossed the border into BC. And of course, Andy's like, what? Like, they're telling us now that we can't stay there. And it was this whole thing about being vaccinated. So she was like, oh, actually, yeah, she can stay with me. I just need to know if she's vaccinated and if her fiance is also vaccinated. And my mom is like, yeah, like, she works in healthcare. She's been vaccinated since the beginning of the year. You know, and my fiance is also vaccinated. We both low-key got the vaccine so we can travel. So my mom is like, yeah, of course they're vaccinated. So Auntie Laura was like, okay, and they've left already? And my mom is like, yeah, they're already, like, they left at 3 o'clock in the morning. And she's just like, okay, never mind my message. It's fine, like, they can come and stay with me. And the message, when I listened to it back when I came home, it did not sound like she wanted me there at all. Okay, it wasn't just about the vaccine. It was just like she did not want me to stay with her. Anyways, we get there. I give her the presents, and her and Mitchell seem really cool. They were super worried about why we took so long to get there. And I'm like, because we took the long way, and that's why it took so long. I think we got there at 6 p.m. and we left at 3 in the morning. So it took us a long time to get there. They both said that they were worried about us. And Laura took the gifts. She was like, oh, you didn't have to do that, blah, blah, blah. And you know, like the usual spiel when people give you gifts and it's like, oh, you didn't really have to do that. She didn't say thank you. She just said, oh, you shouldn't have. Oh, your mom shouldn't have. Oh my gosh, that's too much. Blah, blah, blah. But she took the gifts. They acted very welcoming and like they wanted us to stay there. I hadn't actually listened to the voicemail that she left for my mom because obviously my mom's here in Alberta. I didn't listen to it, so I didn't know how, like, the context of her message was. But when she saw me, she acted all like, oh my gosh, you're here. I'm so excited. I never get visitors. She was so welcoming to me and my fiance as well. And so was Mitchell. So the first day, you know, passes. It's the evening time or whatever. And then we get into day 2 of our trip. The highway to go to Vancouver is closed both ways. Like, there's fires everywhere. So the highway's closed. Andy and I's hometowns are like right beside each other in the Okanagan. Both have evacuation alerts. So we're kind of freaking out. But my Auntie Laura assures us that we can stay there our whole trip. Like, she has no issue with it. Like, we have to enjoy, have fun, relax, and don't really think about the fires because, you know, we have a place to stay basically. So that day at dinner, my Uncle Mitchell says to me,
you know that honey that your mom gave us? Well, you need to bring it back with you to Alberta when you go because we have so much honey. I just bought like 1 kilogram of honey 2 years ago and we're still using it. We have so much honey, like we don't need it. Bring it back with you.
And I was just like, okay, like I guess I could. I'm like, are you sure? And he's like,
yes, just bring it back with you. We have so much honey.
So I'm like, okay, that's sure. Next day comes along. This is day 3. This is Wednesday. And in the morning, my Uncle Mitchell gives me the rosary that my mom gave my Auntie Laura. He's like,
here, this too. You can bring this back to your mom as well.
And I just like freeze for a second. And I'm like, kind of speechless at that point, because when you give somebody a religious item like a rosary, you're not supposed to give it back to them, you know? Like, it was just weird. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean that I should take this back and give it back to my mom? Like, what? So I just kind of freeze. I don't know what to say, and I'm just like staring at it in his hand. I'm not taking it or anything. And then my Auntie Laura comes out of nowhere, grabs this rosary out of his hand and is like, that's mine. She screams, she literally screams, that's mine. She grabs it and I'm like, okay, I'm on my way out the door to go fishing. I'm gonna go now. Bye. Like, see you later. I don't know what just happened. That was super weird, but I'm gonna take it out of my mind. I'm gonna go fishing now. Bye. So I leave the house, and then at dinner time that night, again, this is Wednesday, my 3rd day there, my Uncle Mitchell says,
you know that food that your mom gave us, we don't need it, so you bring that back with you to Alberta. Give it back to your mom because we do not need the food that you gave us.
And I'm like, my mom is gonna be really disappointed because that stuff she picked out for my Auntie Laura, and they're like comfort food items. They're like noodles and like pancit and, you know, just like Filipino items that you can't find anywhere near you. What do you mean? And he's like,
take the food back with you. We do not need it. Give it back to your mom. bring it back to Alberta with you, take the food.
And then I'm just like, well, I don't know if I want to do that because my mom's gonna be really disappointed that you didn't accept her gift. That's basically what I said. And he's like,
yeah, we'll take it back.
Okay. I look at Andy with a side eye. I'm like, well, what is going on here? This is weird. You took it, but now you don't want it. I'm like, really? What is going on? So in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm not gonna take that food back to my car. I'm just gonna leave it where it is because they put it right where their entrance to their house is. I'm like, I'm just gonna leave it there and they can do with it whatever they want when I leave. Next day comes along. This is Thursday now. And this is where shit hits the fan, okay? This is where shit hits the fan. I actually have a vlog clip from this day that I will post right after I tell this bit of the story. And that was supposed to be part of the vlog, but I took it out. I just didn't want like sad me in my vlog. Thursday comes along, Andy and I go fishing. And this is supposed to be our last day there. We were supposed to do some hikes. Andy didn't want to go hiking. He said that we could go hiking like when we got to the coast. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Let's go fishing again. And we went fishing. So my Auntie Laura calls me when we're on the lake and she's like, oh, just so you know, this is what time we're having dinner. They would eat dinner super early. Like they would eat dinner at 4:30, like legit 4:30. So she's like, you have to be home by 4:30 so we can make some steaks and stuff. And me, if you guys know me, I don't really eat steak. I don't really eat like heavy meat like that. I will eat like beef jerky. I'll eat the odd burger once in a while, but I don't really eat steaks like that. I suggested to Andy because Laura mentioned that Mitchell's favorite food is Filipino chicken adobo. And she was like, I'm having issues making chicken adobo. It doesn't really taste the way it's supposed to. And we've tried a lot of recipes and can't get it right. And I'm like, Andy is like the chicken adobo expert. Like he's so good at making chicken adobo. He will show you like the proper recipe and everything like that. And he'll make it for Mitchell. Mitchell will be so happy, blah, blah, blah. We were talking about that like the previous couple days. So I was like, let's just go to the one general store in this little town and let's buy some chicken and some brown sugar, some ingredients so we can make chicken adobo for Mitchell and he'll be so happy. And I'll be so happy because, you know, steak is not my favorite and I'll just eat the chicken. You know, steak and chicken together are not like uncalled for. Like you can have both. Like you can have a little bit of each thing, you know? So that was our plan. We went to this general store. I bought $40 worth of ingredients. We took it back to the house. And when we got in the driveway, I see Mitchell coming out of the house with the 2 bags that my mom bought us. So during Andy and I's fishing trip, we found this really secluded beach. We both went swimming because it was so hot outside. I didn't even bring a shirt that day. Like I brought a sweater. So I was absolutely like sweating. I was so hot. So I ended up just swimming in my underwear. And I had extra underwear with me, so I went swimming in my underwear. My underwear was in the back of the truck just like drying because like I said, I'd gone for a swim. It was on top of our cooler in the back seat, just drying in the sun. And then Mitchell just like opens the truck door without even asking. He puts all of the gifts on top of my wet clothes, on top of my favorite bra. And he's like,
here's your stuff back. We don't need it. Bring it back to Alberta with you.
And I'm like, are you fucking seriously kidding me right now? Like, what is your deal, man? What is your deal? So I was mad, okay? I was mad. So I took the bag of groceries with me and I'm like, I just can't deal with this right now. I'm not gonna speak to him. I'm just going into the house with my bag of groceries. I get into the kitchen. Auntie Laura is there. I think she's like making rice or something. She sees my bag of groceries and she legit freaks out on me. She freaks out on me. She starts yelling and she's like,
I told you, we don't eat food. We don't want any food. Why do you keep buying things like that? Like, I didn't tell you to go out and buy food. I already called you this morning and told you what we were having for dinner. Why did you go out and buy food?
This is stuff that, you know, to make chicken adobo with because you guys mentioned that you really wanted some. Still loses her mind. She loses her shit. She's still yelling at me. She's like,
how could you buy this food? Why did you buy this food? I didn't tell you to buy this. We're not eating that. We're eating steak.
Like, okay, like I can just put it in the fridge or something. And she's like,
no, we're leaving to go to the city tomorrow and this is gonna go bad. And I don't like it when food goes bad. I don't like throwing away food. Why would you bring this to me?
whoa, I've never seen this side of you before. This is strange, this is weird, and this is a little bit scary, to be honest. I was like, okay, well, you're going to the city? Like, how long are you staying for?
Why would you think that I'm staying at the city? I'm coming back home right away. Why would you ever think that?
Because you just said that the food would go bad in the fridge, so I assume that you'd be staying there for more than one day.
Of course, I'm not staying there for more than one day. I'm staying there for one day. I'm just saying we're never gonna eat this food. It's gonna go bad, blah, blah, blah.
I'm gonna take it with me when I leave here tomorrow. I'm just gonna put the chicken in the fridge, and then I took out the dry ingredients like the brown sugar, the bay leaves, and the vinegar. I stuffed it in my beach bag, and I was like, I'm just gonna put this in the fridge. I'll bring it with me tomorrow. And that seems to have done nothing. She was still mad, but she wasn't talking to me at this time. So I sat at the table on my phone. She goes downstairs to the barbecue. Andy's still outside gutting the fish, cleaning up the fish to put on the barbecue. And I'm inside like trying to process what just happened and what to do about what just happened. I'm just at the kitchen table on my phone scrolling through Instagram. And then Andy storms up the stairs after like 10 minutes and he's like,
Why aren't you helping? Everyone's downstairs barbecuing. Why aren't you helping them?
and I'm like, you have no idea what just happened to me. Don't fucking yell at me. So I go downstairs. I'm like, you know what? Whatever. I'm just going to just ignore the fact that this just happened. He doesn't know what happened because he wasn't there. I'm just gonna go downstairs and pretend that everything is okay. I'm gonna have to live with this for like one more night and then I get to leave. And then I was even thinking about going back to Alberta. So I go downstairs to the barbecue, holding a plate to try to help, but I'm really not okay at this point. I'm kind of upset, low-key, and I want to go back to Alberta. I don't want to continue with this vacation that seems to be a complete epic fail. So anyways, I go downstairs, hold the plate out for the steaks and everything, and I'm just like, okay, I can deal with this for one night. This is fine. This is fine. We have dinner, mind you, it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon we're having dinner. So after we eat, Andy's like, let's go organize the truck and get rid of some stuff and put stuff in the box and just try to make space for when we leave. Literally the truck was packed with stuff and we haven't even gotten our duffel bags in there or anything. So we went to the truck to organize everything. I look inside the bag that my mom gave to my Auntie Laura, not the one with the food, but the other bag. And I see that the lotion that I gave her isn't there, and of course the rosary. So it's like they took stuff out that they wanted to keep and then gave back the rest of it. That's how I felt at the time. So I look in the bag and I'm like, what's in here? It's like a bathrobe, a mug, and a shirt. And I'm like, what do I do with this? Like, she doesn't want it? Like, what do I do with it? And then Andy was like, maybe you should just bring it back in the house and just leave it there and then they could do whatever they want with it because your mom is gonna low-key be mad because she didn't accept her gift, you know? Like, this is weird. This has never happened to me before. I don't know how to act. I don't know how to feel at this point. I'm like, okay, the food is one thing. Like, I can give the food to your mom. I can give the food to my other aunt. I can even take the food back to Alberta with me and my mom would be fine eating the noodles herself. But the stuff that's in this gift bag, this is stuff that my mom bought for my Auntie Laura. This is stuff that she bought thinking about my Auntie Laura. So I decide to listen to Andy, bring the stuff inside, and I put it in a different spot, but I put it still like in their basement right at the entrance of their house. I put it there and I leave the bag there and I can hear my Uncle Mitchell from upstairs screaming. He is screaming, saying that I took the stuff from the truck and I'm bringing it back into their house and they don't want it. They don't want it. So he is literally losing his mind screaming upstairs and I'm like, what do I do? What is wrong with these people? What is wrong with these people? So I go up the stairs, my Auntie Laura is in the kitchen and I'm just completely ignoring Mitchell, who is having a meltdown in the living room. And I talk to my Auntie Laura and I'm like, this is what's in the bag. I took out the food. I know you didn't want the honey, so I took it out. I took out the other food. There's just stuff left over that my mom bought for you because she thought about you and she was trying to do a nice thing by buying this stuff for you. There is a bathrobe, there's a mug, and there's a shirt in the bag, and that is it. There's nothing perishable. There's nothing that you need to eat. There's nothing in there that's gonna go bad. This is stuff that my mom did for you out of the kindness of her heart. And she was wanting me to take her to the store to buy this stuff for you so that you would be happy. And so my Auntie Laura was mentioning to me about how when they got evacuated, she stayed with my aunt in my hometown, and my aunt gave her a box of stuff, and she did not want it. She did not want this box of stuff. My aunt put it in the back of her car in the trunk, and she told me that she didn't want this stuff, that my aunt just gave it to her, and she doesn't want it. Again, she doesn't want it. She doesn't want it. And she didn't even open the box. It's still in her basement, and she didn't open it because she doesn't want it. That's the story she gave me. That was the excuse that she gave me, because she doesn't want it. So she was like, clothes, I have a lot of clothes. And I'm like, but you don't though, because you've been wearing the same thing the whole time that we're here, and it's just a bathrobe. I was just like, well, my mom thought about you. This is what she wanted for you. I'm going to leave it here. Yeah, she just basically went off on like how she didn't need things, how she didn't want things, blah, blah, blah. And at this point, I was starting to get really frustrated. I went from angry to the verge of crying, because it just made me feel like offended, you know? Like, I was offended that she wasn't accepting this stuff. I was offended for my mom, who went out of her way to grab the stuff, to buy the stuff for her, because she thought about her. And it's not like she didn't accept any of the gifts. She took 3 things. She took the pain de sel buns, she took the rosary, and she took the lotion. So it's not like she can't accept gifts or anything like that. It's just the rest of the gifts were just not good enough for her, probably. That's how I feel. Or the food was like offensive to them, because it seemed like I was trying to buy them food because they didn't have food, but they had a lot of food in their house, you know? Like, it wasn't like that at all, but that's how I kind of like processed it in my head. I was like, okay, maybe they don't want the food because they're offended that I'm buying them food because they think that they can't buy their own food or something like that. Anyways, so my Auntie Laura says to me,
don't feel bad. It's fine. Go take a shower and you'll be fine.
And at this point in time, my tears are starting to come out of my eyes. I'm losing it. I'm almost about to cry. She's not comforting me at all. She basically says like, don't feel bad. So I go upstairs and I start crying. Andy is downstairs taking a shower at this point. He comes upstairs and he's like, oh my God, why are you crying? Oh my God, what happened? Why are you crying? Why are you crying? And I just couldn't get the words out, and I did that last clip of the vlog, which I'll include right here. This clip is in because it's okay to be sad when you're on vacation. It's not like I really want to remember this moment, but I mean, the rest of the day was pretty good, so I had a lot of fun. And I'm leaving tomorrow to go visit my aunt, but not all vacations are perfect, and sometimes stuff happens that makes you sad, and that's okay. I don't even know what this clip is. Well, this must be a really long story time because my camera literally just died. So I'm filming the final part here on my phone, but that is pretty much the gist of the story. The last thing that happened to me before we left was, well, basically, so after I took my shower and I calmed down and everything, and it took a little bit for me to calm down, I'm not gonna lie, because I literally was mad, I was offended, I didn't know how to feel, like this has never happened to me before. Even when I was like talking to Andy about it and I was crying, he was just like, oh, you know, like, this stuff has happened to me before. I'm like, no, it has not happened to you before. I've never heard of this happening to anyone where like people get offended for giving them a gift, you know, or like just taking the stuff that they want and then giving you back the rest of it. Like, that's so strange. And I'm like, no, this 100% has not happened to you before. So anyways, we were supposed to leave the next morning. So I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna get a good night's sleep and we're gonna leave in the morning. I packed up all my stuff that night. I kind of organized everything. And I just got the stuff out that I was gonna wear in the morning and like my toiletries and stuff like that. So we were leaving, as well as my Auntie Laura and Uncle Mitchell were also leaving. They were going to the city because they had appointments and everything, like I mentioned, with the food going bad in like less than 24 hours in their fridge. So they were going to the city for their appointment, and I was like, well, what time are you leaving the house? They told me 8. I asked 3 times. I asked before dinner. I asked after dinner. I asked right before I went to sleep when I was saying goodnight. I was like, what time are you leaving again? Are you leaving at 8? You're leaving at 8, right? And they're like, yes, we're leaving at 8 sharp. So at like 5 o'clock in the morning, Andy wakes me up and I'm like, dude, I still have 3 hours. You know, like I don't need 3 hours to get ready. I'm literally brushing my teeth, washing my face, putting BB cream on, and then changing, and then we're gonna go. Like, why would it take me 3 hours to do that? He's like, well, I want to leave before them. And I'm like, makes sense, but I still don't need like 2 hours to get ready or anything like that if you wanted to leave at 7 or something. So he basically forced me to wake up after like 30 minutes. He's like, you're gonna wake up right now and you're gonna get ready. So I did that. And at 6:50 in the morning, 6:50, like I said, they're leaving at 8. It's 6:50 in the morning. I am making the bed, even though they don't want me to make the bed. My Auntie Laura was like, no, you're not making the bed. You're not doing any work. You're not cleaning up anything. Like, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, no, I'm making the bed. I'm the type of person that stays at hotels and makes the bed. So I'm making the bed. Anyways, I'm making the bed at the time, and I'm just getting like finished with, you know, like combing my hair and all of that stuff. Like, it's just, you know, random stuff I'm doing just to kill time because it's literally 6:50 in the morning. I hear Mitchell screaming from downstairs to get me the fuck downstairs right now because they need to leave. It's 6:50 in the morning. You told me 3 times that you're leaving at 8. 8 is not 6:50. That's an hour and 10 minutes before 8. Like, why are you screaming? Why are you yelling at me? Why are you trying to make me go downstairs and leave at 6:50? So anyways, I'm just like, oh my God, like, chill the fuck out, dude. Like, chill the fuck out. I'm finishing making the bed and I'm leaving. Like, at this point, I was mad. I was upset. I was just mad. I was mad. I'm not gonna lie, I was mad. I was appreciative that they let me stay with them for the time that they did. But I was mad at their behavior toward me, toward my mom. I was just not happy. And my Auntie Laura would say things like, your mom keeps calling me early in the morning to make sure you're okay, blah, blah, blah. My mom didn't call her in the morning to make sure I was okay. She pretty much left me alone the whole entire trip. My mom did not call her. My mom is not a morning person. She's not gonna call her early in the morning to bug her about me. I'm 29 years old. My mom is not gonna do that. Now you're yelling at me to basically get the fuck out of your house. I don't know why I stayed there for so long, to be honest with you. I know that Andy wanted to go fishing and everything like that. I wanted to make him happy by letting him go fishing in Arrow Lake, and he went to Nakasp and like got some fishing lures that he wanted and all of this stuff. But I did not want to stay there past the Wednesday, like Tuesday or Wednesday. Like, I was fine just leaving, except he wanted to go fishing, and I was like, okay, like, that's fine, like, you can go and stuff, and we'll leave on Friday. But I can't believe I withstood that, especially through Thursday, especially the bad experience that I had on Thursday with everything and just wanting to leave. So that's what happened to me on vacation, on my first 5 days of vacation. And after this, thankfully, I went to visit my real aunt, my aunt that's related to me, and she was just wonderful. She's such a great human being, and I had such a great time with her. We went to visit Andy's mom, we went to Vancouver, we went to the island, we did so much stuff. crammed in this little like 7-day period because we wasted so much time in Nakasp with people that did not appreciate me, didn't like my gifts. It's just a bad experience, and I'm never going back there again. I'm never going back there again. And that was my crazy vacation experience with, I don't even know what to name this video, to be honest, and I feel like this is way too long. So I'm gonna end this now. If you guys are still watching, please go ahead, click the subscribe button below. I upload 3 times a week, Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I will see you guys soon in my next video. Bye.
So